Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women in Action. I'm your host, Bev Jessup, and we're going live in 3 places: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So today, you know that I am dedicated to spotlighting purpose-driven women who are igniting change in their fields. So today, we're honouring Denise Walsh to join us today. I'm really excited to speak to Denise. She's a clinical psychologist turned into a life coach, and her journey is a testament of faith, transformation, and the power of pursuing one's calling. So this episode is called Get Out of Your Comfort Zone and, reach for your dreams, really. So let's delve into her inspiring story and learn how she's helping others design lives they're excited about. So let's jump in. Hello, Denise.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here with you today.
So whereabouts are you? Because I'm here in the UK and you're somewhere in America.
Yes, I'm in Michigan.
Lovely to see you. And we're going to just dive into, I've got tons of questions to ask you, and I'm sure the listeners would love to know a little bit about you and, that specific turning point or that moment that triggered that decision to go from being a clinical psychologist to then becoming a life coach. What was that moment like? What triggered it? And can you kind of describe those emotions and thoughts that you had during that time?
Yeah, for sure. So I got into the field of psychology after I spent 4 years throughout my college summers being a camp counselor. So I spent 2 summers in Asheville, North Carolina, doing home repair ministry where we would paint walls and roof houses and things. And then I spent 2 summers in New York working with New York City foster kids. And I found when I was working with the children in New York that they came to camp with their head down and their guard up. And I felt like I could see them 3 steps ahead of where they saw themselves. And because we got to spend so much time with them over the course of the summer, they'd come with us for a week and then they'd go home for a few days and then come back. I started to see them start to blossom. Their walls came down, their shoulders came up, and I saw them start to thrive. And I thought, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help people know how awesome they are. I'm supposed to see themselves, help see them 3 steps ahead of where they are now, and then help guide their process to get there. And so I went into the field of psychology. I got my master's in counseling and in clinical psychology from Wheaton, right outside Chicago. And I got my first job at a local community mental health. And to be honest, I felt like I was off to change the world. I was this 24-year-old girl who had gone to school her whole life, had all these like big hopes for the world. And I really got that job. And I thought, this is it. Like I'm impacting the people around me. And I knew what it was like to love what I was doing because because the camp experiences, the jobs that I had, I loved it. Like I knew what it was like to feel that spark of this is what I'm supposed to do. And then, as I can imagine, a lot of helping professions start to feel teachers, nurses, daycare workers, social workers, psychologists. It didn't take long for me to be tired, bored, burnt out, overwhelmed, underpaid, all the things. And I went through what I considered my quarter life crisis. And this is where I was like, is this where I'm supposed to stay for the next 30 years? Those big dreams and those big hopes that I had started to really shrink. I was working with people that didn't really want help, oftentimes in the court system. I was working in a system that was broken and I couldn't help them in a way that I really wanted to. I had over 80 clients. I led 6 groups. It was a lot. And so I had to wrestle with this. And I think a lot of times, we figure out a way to like where we are, even though we don't really like it. And so we justify staying where we are. At least here, I know the paperwork. I looked for other positions, but again, is the grass really greener on the other side? I don't really know. And so I ended up staying in my position for about 5 years. All the while asking others and myself, what should I do? Because if you can imagine, I was told what to do for decades of my life. And now I become an adult and nobody's telling me what to do anymore. And so I started to feel that spark start to wane. I started to feel like a zombie kind of going through my days, living for the weekends. And at some point I had to say, this isn't what I want for the next 30 years. I need to find something else.
So you decided that you wanted to become a life coach, and that's quite a significant change, isn't it?
Sorry if you hear my dogs. There's an Amazon
right.
truck. There's like nothing I can even do.
That's okay. This is the joy of going live. So it's a significant leap, isn't it, to go from being a clinical psychologist to then going to life coaching. So how did you kind of navigate those sort of challenges and uncertainties with that change?
And I would say it wasn't a flip of the switch, right? It was, so originally my husband, who's an aerospace engineer at the time, which sounds like a cool job, but he was, working with grouchy old men in cubicle world. He didn't really love what he was doing either. And so he started learning affiliate marketing, online marketing, digital marketing. And we gotten connected with a network marketing company. And we thought, you know what, if we're ever going to do our own business like this, to know the CEO and the family of this company is a good place to be. And so we ended up shifting into network marketing originally, and then spent the next 15 years growing our team. And what I found was that I ended up using all of my gifts and skills working with people who wanted change, who wanted help, who wanted to make more money, but they were scared and they didn't really have the business skills, right? And so I was using all of these skills that I had with my team. I helped them to get over themselves, right? To go for the sale, to let go of limiting beliefs, to grow their money mindset. A lot of the things that I was doing in my clinical psychology world of helping people heal through hurts and know how awesome they are, I was doing that with my team. And so we spent 15 years building a network marketing company, which meant we learned entrepreneurship. We learned digital marketing, Facebook ads, SEO. I learned sales. You know what I mean? I learned a lot of entrepreneurial skills during that season and really got to work with people all around the world and helping them to level up. And eventually we hit the top of our company. We stayed there for over a decade. I got to a place where I felt that same restlessness that I did years prior. Like, this isn't quite it. I'm ready for my next thing. And these pivots that I've had again, it's not like, oh, you're right, time for something new, and then you change. For me, each one took about 3 to 5 years, because at first you try to go, oh, maybe it's just I'm having a bad day. Maybe it's just a bad week. Maybe I can figure out how to shift what I feel and relight my spark here. And eventually I had to say, no, I need to listen to myself and start making the changes that I felt called to make. And so I realized not everybody wants to join my team, but like everybody needs this information. And I started writing books and creating programs. And that's truly when I kind of let go of the network marketing side and started building my coaching business.
Okay, because I can see that on your website. And if anyone wants to go to that, it's denisewalsh.com. I noticed that, you've written books, but, when you're feeling kind of like stuck in a job and it's like a 9 to 5 and you have this dream that you want to escape this 9 to 5 world and, do something that is purpose driven, that is passion led, somewhere where you are going to make a difference, but you just feel stuck and fearful. What strategies can people use to kind of overcome those feelings?
Yeah. I think it would be weird if you didn't feel that, right? Because if it were easy, you would already have done it. And so what I recommend, at least this is what has worked for me over the years, is I did seek out wisdom from others. I found people who were where I wanted to be or where I thought I wanted to be and asked them questions. But then I also asked myself, what do I really want my days to look like? How do I want to spend my time? How do I make the most impact? And I started really designing a life, like just getting creative, using my imagination to design a life that I was really excited about. And then the goal was to take one step every single day in order to get there. Now, I often say you don't need, like, it's not black or white. I would recommend, we worked our side business for 3 years before we were able to quit our jobs. And so there's a lot that you can do for your business on nights and weekends to build up something that feels sustainable before you make the big leap. The other thing is there's a lot of skills to learn. And so I think oftentimes, like, I had a big heart. I was like, I have value to add to the world, but yet I had a lot to learn about business and entrepreneurship. And so it's truly a marathon, not a sprint. And the cool thing about skills is they start to compound. So first, you learn how to create a program, then you learn marketing and sales, and then you do podcasting, and like every thing you focus on starts to compound. And in a year, you really can be in a completely different place. But just know that learning one skill at a time is super helpful, and keeping yourself focused. You're not a squirrel. You don't need to learn all the things at the same time. And then we're often really distracted and not actually making progress. So step one, find people who are doing what you want to do and start asking them questions, get in their communities, buy their programs, see what they do. 2, ask yourself, what do I really want? What's important to me? What are my priorities? And then step 3, start learning the skills that you need in order to get there. Uh-oh, are you there?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, so don't press the right button. Yeah, so sometimes we are, we're thinking we're Christian. I know you're Christian, I'm Christian, and we sometimes can use our faith as an excuse to not do things, because it feels uncomfortable. It's again that coming out of the Christian comfort zone and thinking, oh, what will people think about it? How do you feel we should overcome those feelings or those thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I liken that spark that I feel to the Holy Spirit within me. I feel that, like, nudge, you know what I mean? Like that restlessness is an important thing to listen to. That spark is an important thing to listen to. But what I have found is that oftentimes people will say, oh, I got to know. That must be a sign and mean that I should go back to what's comfortable, even though I don't like it. Or shoot, this didn't work. It's not as easy as I expected. This must be a sign. And so the reality is that's just life. Like, it's just a part of the journey. And so what I consider, or what I recommend people like listening to, is that still small voice rather than the bumps along the way, because the bumps, no matter what new thing you're doing, are going to be there. So truly ask your gut, like ask that still small voice, do that journaling. What's important to me? And I know for me, I've realized that if I'm not growing, I'm slowly dying. And so it's super important for me to continue to take steps forward, even if I'm scared, even if I don't quite know how it's going to work out, because that spark is bigger than the fear.
Yeah, I really love that, actually. That spark is bigger than the fear, because that's something that has really spoken to me recently, that I did this Christian art journaling weekend, and journaling, as you've already mentioned, is really powerful way of kind of unlocking those inner thoughts, those inner feelings, that still voice. And sometimes as I'm journaling, I find that my pen is running away with me. I'm thinking, where are these words coming from? It's almost as if the Holy Spirit's taking hold of my pen and writing it for me. And it, I just feel that I have this desire to help Christian women to unlock their creativity and also at the same time find their purpose. And using the tools of Bible journaling, art journaling, prayer journaling, all sort of rolled into one, and not being stuck in whatever challenges or emotions that they're going through, or issues that they might be having, either emotionally or mentally or physically, that they bring it all to God in their quiet times and in a creative way, but without there are always, a but, isn't it? There's always a kind of like the feelings of burnout, for instance, that if you are in a caring profession, burnout is like a common issue that those caring professions go through. And I know that you experience burnout as well. Is that right? And I mean, as a speech therapist, I've experienced that as well. And I help other therapists who also talk about, their huge caseloads and the feeling of burnout. So how have you managed to move past that feeling of burnout and then sort of moving into like having that renewed purpose and energy for your new career?
Yeah. I think it's both and, right? So one of the things that I work to do on a consistent basis to keep me from getting to burnout is a lot of the self-care that you've mentioned, journaling, staying connected to my spark, having girls' nights, going for walks, like having things that could be considered hobbies in my calendar because they also bring me joy. And I think it's important that we do things that bring us joy on a consistent basis. Because if we're working 24/7, I mean, the reason that I got burnt out in the clinical psychology world was because it was an intense emotion all of the time, kind of constant chaos. And that is overwhelming. I need to balance that by doing things that bring me joy, fill me up so that I'm not kind of in freak out mode all the time. The thing that burned me out in network marketing was there was no off button. I mean, my phone and my text was how I built my business. And so and I didn't learn the systems that I know now, right? I was the leader. And so I was on all the time. And if everybody had a question, they would ask me. And so it was again, overworked. And so I think now that I've experienced that, I try to do things that bring me joy on a consistent basis. But I also have a much more tight calendar. So for example, when I'm working, I'm like all in. But when I'm not working, I'm doing whatever I'm doing all in, if that makes sense. So what I found at the beginning of my business when my kids were small is that I would always have mom guilt. Like, oh, I should be with them. I feel a bit guilty for, working or whatever. And then when I was with them, I was like, oh, I should be working. So it was like never good enough. And so I quickly learned to put it all in my calendar and then be where I am. So if I'm working, I'm working. If I'm with my boys, I'm with my boys. If I'm doing self-care, I'm doing self-care. And I know that everything has a time slot, so I don't have to freak out about things getting done. Another thing I'll mention is something I've learned over the years is like outsourcing, because you can't do it all. We can't. We don't need to
I'm
be.
glad you said that because I can't do it all. I mean, I'm quite technical and I do my website, I do other people's websites, but really in reality, there are some technical things that I just have to sort out, get someone else to sort out because I just don't want to waste time on it.
Yeah, we can waste brain space, energy. Like when I hired my salesperson, I was able to create a whole new business, like a whole new program.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the creativity for that because I was doing so much busy work. So outsourcing, whether it be at home, cleaning, cooking, etc., or in your business, can be a huge game changer too. So you can stay in your lane and really focus on what you're good at.
Yeah. So transitioning into a new field does require you kind of like stepping out of your own comfort zone. So what were some of the first steps you took, because I know there'll be some people saying, oh, but I don't have the confidence to do that, confidence being a big thing. So how did you gradually build your confidence in your new role as a life coach?
Well, the fear, well, I think every pivot has some fear, right? But what I really learned was doing it anyway is like the only and best option, because the best way to build confidence is by getting feedback from your clients. I remember the first time in my network marketing career, I flew to visit a team and I helped them with an expo. I prayed. I'm sitting in the airport praying that the plane would get canceled. Like the flight would get canceled and I'd have to go home. Like I remember visibly praying that parties would get canceled. Like I was so nervous and so scared. But what I found is that when I got there and I did it and I practiced and I got feedback, that feedback gave me information that I could then practice. And the more I did it, the better I got. And so you won't have confidence until you start doing it. But the feedback you get from potential clients, from leads, from sales calls, from people going through your program is going to that is going to be what builds your confidence, because you see the result that you're providing people.
Wow, you've given us so much value, good value here. Thank you so much for all those tips. And so if people want to get to work with you, because I'm sure there are people that are struggling with the fear of the unknown, hesitation about pursuing their dreams, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I've got 2 programs. One is a 90-day program focused on overcoming self-sabotage, and I call it a loving kick in the right direction. And then another program I offer is I certify coaches in my methodology and support them in growing their business. And so I think the best way, you can certainly go to my website, denisewalsh.com, or join the free Facebook group that we have. It's called Become a Dream Life Coach. And there I'm in that every single day and would love to answer questions. And there's tons of resources in there as well.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Denise, for coming on Women in Action and talking to us about following your dreams and getting out of your comfort zone. And I look forward to speaking to you soon and finding out more on another episode, if possible.
Yeah,
I could talk to you
so
for ages.
for having me. And to the listeners, like I often say, that spark that you feel is only going to get louder until you start taking action on it. So go for it. It's worth it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining Women in Action. And in this episode, you'll find everything that you need. If you want to know more about Denise, just go to mavenbusinesshaven.com/podcast and you'll see the episode there, as well as it's been live streamed today. So I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye for now.